Welcome to Prerona Television Canada on behalf of Global Academy of Holistic Leadership. We are very happy. We are continuing our leadership speaker series, and today we are having our 37th episode. And our topic today is leadership and culture revisited. Earlier we had sessions on leadership and culture, but today we'll be discussing little more about leadership and culture revisited. We'll be discussing a couple of other things in leadership. Uh, and we are very happy our regular speaker and trainer, Advocate Jiaur Rahman, is here with us, and he is CEO of IITM and adjunct faculty of Independent University. So we are very happy that he is continuing with our sessions, and many of you are blessed and it benefited for these sessions. And I do acknowledge and have a deep appreciation to Professor Jiaur Rahman for his contributions. As you know, that leadership speaker series, the reason that we are conducting this session as this Global Academy of Holistic Leadership is Canadian-based institute, and we provide regular training services to the businesses and uh, to local businesses and the other things. So we are very happy Advocate Jiaur Rahman with us. So I do now welcome Advocate Jiaur Rahman to continue his sessions. You can share your screen and start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Let me let me find this. Give me 1 second. For some reason, the screen is not being able to. I cannot share for some reason. Just give me a second. Have you enabled me?
Yes, you can share. I can see your desktop. I can see your desktop or your file, all the files here, but I can see the presentation. I think you can close that one and I think open it again, I guess. So, because I can see your desktop, right? I can see.
Okay. Let me try one more time. You can see my desktop, but for some reason my for some reason it's not showing up. I don't know why it's happening again. Just give me 1 more second. I'm sorry for the delay. Sometimes it acts a little peculiar on my desktop. Okay, I think it will work now. Can you see my screen now, please?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I'm sorry for the delay. I am Advocate Jiaur Rahman. We're from Dhaka, running this session. Today is our 37th session on leadership and culture. We had done a similar session with certain other components on leadership and culture a few weeks back. So we are jumping right back in with additional information, thoughts on leadership and culture, and how we can actually evolve ourselves within the culture of an organization, and how culture and leadership are intertwined together, and what is it that we need to do in order to develop ourselves and develop our culture so as to lead into the future. That's the premise and that's the perspective of this session. So moving forward, I normally start off with a definition or quotation. So here we have one from Ralph Waldo Emerson, a famous writer. He says, culture opens the sense of beauty. This is an important quote, not just from the managerial perspective. It is an important quote also from the perspective of life. If you have a good culture within your organization or within your family or within your community, it actually builds on the perspective of life. It builds on to creating new output, new possibilities, and that's why it's being related to the word sense of beauty. So a great culture brings a beautiful construct in life, and it creates a wonderful sense of beauty around you. And this culture actually impacts not only you and your thought process and your philosophy in life, it engages others. It drives the perspective of others to engage with you in a meaningful discourse. So culture is absolutely vital for the success of any organization or any engagement on human advancement and human development. So Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote is very pertinent in our lives, be it in social or any other perspective. Moving on forward, this is by Simon Sinek. He is also a motivational speaker, talks about a lot of things that are relevant to us in our lives and how we can actually develop ourselves. So he says corporate culture matters. How management chooses to treat its people impacts everything for better or worse. This is a vital piece of information in the sense that if the culture is not proper, if it's not engaging, if it's not working in the right perspective, then things will be not working out as smooth as you planned it to be. So if you want something to work very effectively, efficiently, without flaws, then certain perspectives are to be structured, certain mindset, certain norms, certain structure has to be followed. And this whole philosophy of uh, developing your organization based on norms, values, perspective is your culture. This is a summation of all your behavior combined, brings the culture out, takes the organization to a new dimension. So a set of values that you roll out within your organization is so vital. So this is known as your culture. This is known as your corporate culture. If you're considering discussing culture from the context of a corporation, we do things in a certain way, and another corporation or another company does the same thing in a different way. So this is not just based on procedure, it is also based on your belief system. Why you do certain things in a particular way, whereas somebody else does it in a slightly different way, is important. And these are these little nitty-gritty parts that assimilates into your behaviors. These behavioral perspectives assimilates into the whole construct of your culture. So this is so vital that your culture has this underlying impact in the way your business is run, in the way your organization is run. So how your people are managed by your management is part of your culture, and it impacts it positively or negatively. So if your culture is a fear driven culture where your top management is always using the carrot and stick approach to lead the organization, it may work for a certain time. Ultimately it may have serious drawbacks, and then things will start to fall apart. So you have to design the culture in a meaningful way that will engage the people within the organization so that they feel at ease. What I'm trying to say is not to make them an easygoing environment. Of course, you have to make an environment thriving, performance driven, all of that, but you have to give the sense of belongingness of people within your organization. So the treatment of management is definitely driving the organization in a positive or negative direction. And the perspective that the management holds is perhaps the particular point of culture, in the sense that culture drives these management to think and act in the certain way. So if your top leadership is acting in a certain way, it will cascade down. It will it will be followed by other people within the organization. So we have to be very careful as to roll out a particular behavior, roll out a particular strategy where people are engaging, people are passionately connecting with you. So this idea and the notion of having a proper engagement dynamics within the organization builds on the culture of the organization. So we have to be very careful and cognizant on these issues. And Simon Sinek is actually talking about that. And this, he's rightfully say that culture matters. Moving to the next slide. Okay. Being a great place to work is the difference between being a good company and a great company. This says it all. If your environment is a great place to work, you will create a great organization. If your environment where you're working is not adequately supporting your whole spirit, your strength and your areas of opportunities, if the company is not giving you that vibe, that that mindset cannot be placed in that organization, then you can at best be a average to a good organization. But if your structure allows you to explore more, try new things without the fear of being punished, then what will happen? You will be like a blossoming flower. Your color, your beauty will be shown in all dimensions. So imagine everybody within your organization is like the rose, is like the flower blossoming himself or herself. So the entire garden will look so beautiful. The entire garden will be so magnificent. So all of these people combining their efforts and working together as a team will definitely create a much better opportunity for the organization. So you will turn to becoming a great organization from becoming a good organization. So the transition is from being an average organization to ultimately transforming to becoming a great organization. And this process, although I'm saying it in two or three sentences, this process might take a long time. But if you have the will, if you have the passion and determination and the mindset, that means you are building the fabric of culture within your organization for creating that environment, then ultimately the results will show forth. You will slowly but surely turn into a great organization. As a leader, you have to be patient in the sense that even if you are ready in your mind, in your head, that you are wanting to do a truly transformational change, you wanting to evolve into something truly remarkable, you have to realize that not everybody might be in the same platform. Not everybody will be able to grasp your vision and your perspective right away. So the process will be sticky in the sense that some people will not want to gravitate to the new option or the new output that you are pushing them towards. But if you are using proper communication and effectively having a brainstorming session with them on a regular basis and discussing the organization and its new dimension and its new philosophy, then ultimately the growth will take place. And this statement was actually made by Brian Christofek, the president and CEO of Upshot. So what the underlying idea from this quotation is that you want to turn your organization into a great organization by turning your work environment into something meaningful, passionate, and engaging. So these are the true fixers. If you can change these few things within your organization, the rest of the things will actually come about on their own. So if you build a organization by telling your people that, look, there is ample opportunity in this organization, we want you to proceed without fear and do the right thing. If there are certain gaps, we will work it out and fill those gaps. But if you do small mistakes or some mistakes, it is okay. Mistakes are okay, but let us learn from those mistakes. So you will immediately see that a whole bunch of people are resonating to your philosophy. They will start feeling the champion. that you want everybody to become. So they will start producing a set of good results because they know the fear factor has been addressed by top leadership and you will not be punished. So people are intelligent, people have a lot of creativity in today's world. So they will be bringing those perspectives and those ideas into the fore, and you will be able to create a better enterprise that way, and turning your enterprise from being a good enterprise to being a great enterprise. The great enterprise people are driven by the singularity of this perspective of being a responsible organization, being a responsible organization and having responsible behavior, and that will drive towards the great organization. Moving forward, this is a very short, very small quotation, if you want to say it in those terms. Culture is the shadow of the leader. Imagine the idea. It's talking about the shadow of the leader. So the behavior that the leader produces, the behavior that the leader showcases amongst his or her environment is like the shadow. And if the shadow is running properly, if the shadow is not suggesting or indicative of anything negative, then people will follow the shadow. And when you follow the shadow, ultimately the leader destination will also be followed by you. So if the leader is moving forward with certain products, certain ideas, certain notions, certain perspective, and developing certain cluster of products and services for the organization, if he is followed or she is followed through following the shadows, that person will ultimately turn himself or herself into a leader. So the leader's role is so important. So the leader's role, leader's attitude, leader's vision, the communication the leader sends out, it's direct communication and interpersonal communication and indirect communication. Whatever communication the leader sends out on a daily basis becomes the cluster of the shadows, and this shadow actually gives the focus for everybody else to actually relate to and navigate forward with this perspective. So as a good leader, you have to build your perspective in such a way that all the shadows that you're casting onto the organization is positive, vibrant, passionate, and giving some sense of purpose and energy. So as a leader, if you are feeling the vibe, if you feel that you have a purpose within the organization, you don't have to be the top leader of the organization. Imagine you're the manager of your division. Imagine you're the head of your certain department. And if you're positive and engaging and your passions are showing forth within the organization, then you are actually mirroring a good shadow, and everybody else will be following the shadow and ultimately drive towards the good to better to best organization. So moving forward, I normally have a definition. So this is the definition on leadership, bringing in the ideas of culture into it. So leadership is about understanding internal and external culture within the industry and designing successful navigation strategies. So this has a multiple parts. First, you have to understand the internal culture of your organization. What is the internal culture? It is how your people are, who they are, what ignites them, how do they drive their energies together, what is the team dynamics within your organization. These are the components of internal culture, their overall orientation to life, and what do they represent are to be understood in this internal understanding of the culture. And once you have a good grasp and good grip on the internal culture, you have to also look at the external culture of the environment in which you're operating. For example, if you're a shoe manufacturer and you have a good understanding of the people with whom you're working, that is understood. but you don't know your competitors, you don't know their mindset, you don't know how the market evolves or works. Assuming you're a new person to the organization, you have to drive your energy into understanding the external culture within the industry, so that once you have a good grasp of the internal culture, you can also immediately relate to the external culture. You should not be doing one first. Absolutely try to understand one component first and then move to the other component. I don't think it's so linear. You have to look at both here and there. So while you're looking at your internal culture and designing or fixing your internal culture within your environment, you ought to be also engaging in your stakeholder discussion with the external industry people. That way you will get a feel for what's going on within the external and structure of the organization. And once you get the two components in your head properly embedded, and you have a good feel, you're confident, then you can actually navigate and create the journey for your organization into to the next level. So you have to be very firm in understanding your culture within and your culture without, that means in the industry, so that you can actually design successful navigation strategy. And this is very logical. If you don't know who you are within your organization, and if you don't know who you are within the larger fabric of the industry, then you will not be producing a positive result. You will be basically a half-baked organization. Either you know this well, but you don't know the other component well, or vice versa. So from a 360-degree angle, we talk about 360-degree discussion of leadership, where you have to look at the entire gamut of activities that are shaping the future of this organization or shaping the present situation. So if you want to create a better organization, you have to have a firm grip on the present. And how best to get a grip on the present? By understanding the internal culture and understanding the external culture. Internal culture and external culture combined will develop the next set of opportunities for your organization. And if you are having these two well ingrained and well intertwined together, then you are actually becoming a you actually become a solid human being, confident human being, and the results would also show. So going back to the previous slide of the shadow, if you are strong in your vision, if you're strongly understanding your culture, then your shadows are going to be very solid. People will be able to immediately relate to who you are, what you represent, and how you are moving about with your enterprise or your set of activities, and it will be very clearly understood. So these two are to be linked by proper and effective communication. And we had talked about communication extensively. So at the central point of this slide and this leadership context is understanding the communication, understanding and having a proper communication, so as to you can relate both, so as to connect both. Moving forward, so we had talked about culture. Now let's talk about how the culture impacts the organization and why culture is so vital. The first and foremost, it's very commonsensical, these four slides, and you'll be able to relate it very easily. Culture can positively impact your organization if you have a thriving culture, in the sense things are working, people are engaged, people are passionate, people are driven with the work that they have been assigned to, they feel confident. They will not be looking out externally, they will not be grumbling, they will feel high voltage within themselves all the time. So that's the positive culture. And when you have the positive culture, it's like the rising tide. It will the rising tide will let the water flow in distant places. There will be a lot of energy that you will see, and there will be a lot of uh, current moving. So a lot of things will be happening and positive energy will flow and everybody will exude with this confidence. So positivity and confidence will come about with an impact of positive culture. So impacts are important. Now, the other spectrum of the culture, if your culture is weak, people are not engaging, people are always finding faults, people don't want to listen to each other, everybody is here for his or own uh, achievement. There is no communication or effective communication taking place. So everybody is fending for himself or herself. So ultimately, the collective result would be shrunken. The collective result will fall because nobody is there to build the organization. Everybody is just looking out from their narrow perspective of their own uh, territory, or they're trying to claim certain kind of superiority within their own enclave. And the mindset is very narrow. So everybody is in their particular silos, not relating to each other. And if you don't have those brainstorming, engagements, discussion, proper communication, so negativity will be flowing through the enterprise. So the water will be ebbing. So there will be the tide has already gone. So you are shrinking. So entire process will feel subverted. The notion of growth will be turned upside down. So negativity is also part of culture. So as a leader, if there is an issue that you feel negativity is spreading, you need to immediately attack those issues, and you need to get the people who are sending negative vibes into the organization, have a clear discussion with them, talk to them, um, be open to them, be frank with them, and tell them that, look, if you are spreading these type of issues, or even if it's a rumor or a sense of frustration, who are you hurting at the end? You're actually hurting your own self, because you're part of the system, you're part of the larger ecosystem, the business ecosystem, be it business, society, or politics. So negative perspective and negative spirits are absolutely hurting the organization. If you can actually tell and convey and properly communicate this issue to these people, I think people are more or less sensible, especially when you're working for an organization for a certain period of time. You should have certain level of passion, certain level of trust, and certain level of orientation and association with this organization. So if the negative issues are showcased in the sense that if you say this, this is creating a negative cascading sentiment within the organization. And this behavior pattern needs to be turned right now for the welfare of the organization. Most people will understand. So again, your perspective should be engaging. Your perspective should be from the from the light of being positive, from the light of telling them what is going to be the subsequent consequences if you continue to do these type of statements. If you continue to make these type of statements, your body language is going to be having negative impacts on the others. So please cease and desist. So this negative culture, a negative impact, has to be immediately addressed by the leadership. And wherever you feel that negativity is devouring you, you need to have a sense of purpose of and connect back to the meaning of the organization. I'm sure every organization starts with a meaning. Like example, the shoe company that we talked about, one of the meaning for the shoe company might be to have high quality shoes for the community. So it one of the meaning would be to create a shoe enterprise which is going to give comfort to the people. So immediately relate to the meaning, so that confusion, the negative part is confusion, the next part is confusion, so you don't spread confusion within the organization. Your shadows are very clear. It is devoid of confusion. It is only showing
positive attributes. It's only showing positive signals within the enterprise. So start behaving in those terms. These are not so easy as we speak. We are human beings. We have our internal emotions, and sometimes internal emotions wreak havoc within ourselves, and we don't even know that we are creating a confusion within the organization. Sometimes the negativities that you bring in from the external world, and if you share them in volumes within the organization, everybody becomes engaged in your frustration that has happened in the external community. That is needed at times. You have to have session with your colleagues to talk about, let's say, your mindset, the things that not working in your life. That's fine, but you have to create a culture of not spreading these negative issues all the time. You have to have sessions where people can talk about their emotional situation and how they're being emotionally drained due to certain internal or external factors. Those would be sessions for self development, self nourishing, but the culture would be designed in such a way that you actually create opportunities and set of timelines for them, so that that is not rubbed into the entire enterprise. So you feel invigorated coming out of those sessions, and then you do and deliver the right results with positive impact within the enterprise. So that's important. The last part is ambivalent. Ambivalent means not being sure what to do. This is also something negative, and technically it may have elements of frustration, elements of positivity as well. So sometimes if you are in a state of confusion, that is going to create a disturbing culture within your organization. If the people of your organization are, let's say, have decided to organize a new product or develop a new set of services, but come next week in the team meeting, uh, people are again raising queries and questions with regard to the previous discussion and decision that you had taken. What will happen is this stream of thought, this engagement dynamics where you had actually worked towards the new product or new service, the energy will be dissipated. It will it will ebb. So in other words, the benefits that you had accrued in the last set of period up to today's meeting will actually be vanished or will be punctured. So you don't want to do that. You only want to do that if rational, logical, additional information has been tabled that was not properly understood in the context in the previous meeting. In that case, of course, you can bring in new ideas, but your whole perspective would be to shape the outcome of your organization in a rightful direction by engaging and building new products and services. That should be the spirit, and that should be the meaning of your whole engagement in that team meeting. So the purpose has to be clear. So if there is ambivalence, confusion, doubt, hesitation, then the organizational team dynamics will not work. The team will not form, and you will have this, we talked about the storming, norming, forming kind of session of team dynamics. You will be always in the constant flux. You will be in the storm, and you will never reach the right shores. You'll be wasting your energy, and ultimately nothing will take shape. So you don't want to be in those type of shoes. So moving forward, so the impact of culture is so important, and these are intricately strewn, and people within the culture, they have to work within themselves in order to build and in order to create the momentum within themselves, so that the culture remains positive and the elements of negativity is minimized, and ultimately confusions are taken out, and there is no ambivalence within the enterprise, and that will create the right environment to create the great organization. So moving forward, blending culture in leadership. We had talked about this in great detail, so I will have less time on this slide. However, culture, the norms, the philosophies in life, the values that you have within your organization ultimately builds your leadership. If you had come from a very frugal background, one of the issues that some leaders may sense is that they may not be taking big risks because you had never had the opportunity to play with larger uh, outcomes. You never had the opportunity to experience greater things in life. So you might be philosophically driven to uh, being happy with small achievements. That might be the case, but if you build the mindset and change your philosophies over the timeline, then ultimately you can actually take larger stakes, you can take larger risks to build something better. So these are issues that are connected to your life. So these small but very important and vital behavioral attributes you as a leader have to think and seep into your own mindset. And while doing so, you have to also realize that everybody has their unique blend and perspective and how they came about. So their orientation in life had created their values and norms. If you want to shape certain changes in their values and norms, you have to be careful, is not to step into their egos, while you have to be also engaging in discussions so you can actually fix some of those ideas so that they can build the enterprise to the next level with certain level of commitment and new dimensions. So building blocks for transformation, this is what I was just talking about. You build these perspective, you actually do the how, and understanding the why, then you can do what needs to be done. So the transformation process is important. So navigation into the future, building your culture and blending your culture with your leadership is vital. So cultural orientation and adoption, this actually comes through the previous two points. You're adapting to the new culture. You are be opening up to the orientation of the new organization. So it's a very difficult matter because as we talk about, culture is always very sticky. You are, as human beings, we want to be always in the comfort zone. Status quo is something that we want to keep within our confines. We talk about change, but it is rarely that we really want to change. This is the reality of the world. There are very few people who truly champions the change. So if you had come through an environment where change was looked very critically and change was not properly addressed, and sometimes due to changes you were punished, maybe you wanted to do certain changes and the environment in which you grew up, uh, whether it's in your home environment or the environment in your school or your initial lives in the work environment, you were not given the floor to actually blossom. You will obviously will be someone with a narrow set of conditions, a narrow set of philosophy, and then you will be you will always try to avoid the change because your older ideas, the older visions, and the old history will try to grip you, and you will be immediately shrinking from the responsibility of engaging in larger change. So that has to be understood in the proper context, and then a good leader has to convey these issues that then this environment is going to be different, and this is what we are working towards for a transformation so that we can adapt to the new set of norms and values that we want to build in this enterprise. So that is a very important issue. And this cultural positioning, this value positioning, this positioning of norm will build you into a true leader. So this is absolutely vital in the life of all leaders and in the life of all managers. And you have to actually blend these issues into your transformation of becoming the true leader that you are wanting to aspire. Moving to the next slide. Culture, cognition, leaders drive. Cognition is your thought process, basically. So your thought process have to be evolved. So cultural understanding and cognition for effective leadership. You must evolve your thought process. If you're stuck with the old philosophy without opening the window for the new change and transformation, the culture, even if it's set in stone in front of you, you will not pick anything from it. You will always try to gravitate to your old system. So the cognition process has to be kicked in. The cognition, the knowledge, the skills, you have to immediately capture and move to the next level. So therefore, you have to train your minds. You have to train your people. You have to have organizational training. You have to have the communication on a regular basis so that the transformation takes place. Filling the gaps in cognition. Some people don't have the right cognitive capacity to understand what needs to be done. So you have to train their cognition process. It's a very difficult task. It will not happen overnight, but that process has to be a constant within the organization. Building the purpose and knowledge environment to lead. Your purpose has to be properly understood, and you have to build it so that you can ultimately lead in the environment and be the true leader that you are championing to be. Communicate these norms and practices and the vision, the shared vision. The shared vision we had talked about in great detail, but these are very important issues. The vision that you want to share, it has to be it has to be embedded in every single person. Everybody within the organization has to sort of relate to it, and these are to be communicated on a regular basis, and that is how the cognition ultimately takes shape within your head. Because it's at the end of the day, whatever you're listening, if it doesn't seep into your mind, if it doesn't set into your brains, things will not actually shape up. Celebrate happy moments. So cognition takes a sticky perspective when you are celebrating happy moments. So your energies and your vibes are going to be transforming the way you behave. So happy moments are to be energized, happy moments are to be explored, and happy moments have to be celebrated. And difficult moments have to be analyzed so that you can get a particular wisdom, and your cognitive abilities will drive the wisdom forward. Wisdom is something that you grow with, or orientation, you grow with time, and you grow with knowledge. I cannot say for sure that somebody with high knowledge will have high wisdom, but I can only suggest to the fact that a great amount of knowledge will be helpful to develop a better purpose and a better wisdom for the enterprise. So that is very important. And once you have these transitions, and then you become more wise, you are becoming more, uh, you have a feel for the future, then you will ultimately lead as a better leader. And enable adaptive cross-cultural and team dialogues. This is vital. If you can enable these dialogue and understand the cross-cultural team dynamics, then things will be very helpful. So the cognition of the entire enterprise, understanding the perspective, the values and norms, also beyond your own cozy circles. You understand the culture of other people well, the well-entrenched culture, and then you can design and reflect and then develop into a better leadership enterprise. So you turn your organization from becoming a great organization, from being a good organization. So these values and the culture are so sticky, but at the same time, they can also be transformed through impassioned behavioral change. So we are discussing about these issues on a regular basis throughout the leadership change process, so that ultimately you, as our audience, can actually grab certain elements from my presentation and apply in your lives, and in your lives within your families as well, and truly be the champion that you want to be. So with that, I think I almost come to the end of my presentation. So driving social success. This is the perspective of leadership and success in society. Break down communication boundaries. You have to be very open to each other. Work outside your personal silos. We had talked about personal silos that you need to break down. You promote others. if you promote others, people will resonate with you, and then positive results will come about. Work on winning trust, build the trust within yourself, and push the trust factor so that everybody is feeling confident. Continuous communication, we talked about. Be innovative in creating the collaborative culture. Being innovative, coming up with new ideas, coming up with new perspectives are very much the need of the hour in today's market, so that you become a truly transformed leader, and it will ultimately turn your organization successful. So you will not only have to have the social motor skills and social skills to be successful, it will also help you to be a true leader. So with this, I come to this end of my presentation. I end with a $1 million question, and today's $1 million question has actually two parts. How quickly should a new CEO adapt the changing circumstances, and when not to adapt? So how quickly is one part, and when not to adapt? Let me address the first part. How quickly is as quickly as you can adapt would be very helpful, because time is money. So you don't want to waste a lot of effort and energy in understanding the culture within your organization, internal, external. That, well, having said that, you also don't want to jump the gun. You don't want to quickly go and say that I've understood the culture very well and let me start changing the culture. That may have a negative impact, and it may go counter to your effort. You don't want to do that. So you must give a certain level of time to understand the culture from a 360-degree holistic perspective, but you don't want to engage the time to be an endless stream of timeline. You don't want to do that. And the next question is when not to adopt. This is when you understand the culture very well and you have realized that certain things are amiss, certain things are not proper within this new enterprise. So you don't want to adapt to that. You want to quickly fix that culture. So you have to also understand that, will you be able to fix it right away, or will you take time and let other strength areas evolve first and then address the weakness? So this is a judgment call that you have to make, and these are the issues of true leader. A true leader makes proper judgment call and then moves forward. So if you can answer these questions in the proper light and then fix those things, then ultimately your culture within the organization will evolve, and you will also turn into a true leader. So with that, I would like to end my presentation today, and thank you very much everyone for listening in. If you have any questions, queries, feel free to ask. Thank you very much. Edward Probin Mondal, back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Joe Rahman, for your presentation. It's very, very important and relevant to understand leadership and culture. It is very interconnected, and we have already discussed earlier, and today also we shared a couple of things about leadership and culture. Uh, we discussed the impact of culture and how it is affected to us. We also understand how we can blend culture and leadership, and then culture, cognition, leaders drive, and driving the social successes. One of the things that I would like to mention here, just before I conclude this session, is here uh, there is a person named Hall in 1976 stated the degree of focus on the person individual or on the collective collectivist is the primary characteristics of culture. In 1994, Trump Pioneer classified the culture or organization as the degree of which societies show common power versus hierarchical power, or another one is the task person orientation, the degree of which society prioritize human interaction versus task concentration. Now, here, one of the things that is very important, because this we have been studying this culture and leadership for quite a number of time. In 2000, in 1991, there was actually a globe research program involving more than 160 researchers, and they used quantitative method to research the responses of 17,000 managers in more than 950 organizations and 62 different cultures, and establish a cultural aspect framework and define 9 cultural dimensions. The first one, I just need to, before I end the session, just to maybe, I will not go into any details, but just to give you an idea, what are those 9 cultural dimensions. Number one is uncertainty avoidance, the extent to which society, agency, or group relies on social standards, routines, or procedures to avoid confusion. The next one is a power distance, the degree to which group members believe and accept the power should be disproportionately shared. And number three is institutional collectivism, the degree to which organization and community encourages institutional and societal collective action. And number four is in group collectivism, the degree to which people express pride, loyalty, and cohesiveness in their organizations or families. And number five is gender egalitarianism, the degree to which an organization or community minimizes gender role differences and promotes gender equality. And then number six is assertiveness, the degree to which people in a culture are determined, assertive, confrontational, and aggressive in their social relationship. And number seven is future orientation, the extent to which people engage in future oriented behavior, such as planning, investing in the future, and dealing gratification. Number eight is performance orientation, the extent to which organizations and community encourages and rewards group members for improved performance and excellence. And number nine is human orientation, the degree to which culture encourages and rewards people for being fair, altruistic, generous, caring, and kind to others. So these are the things actually we've been discussed. Means that they actually find out, and this is a very interesting study actually they did. So in summary, I would say it's very interesting, and also very worth understanding and studying the relationship of leadership and culture is very interconnected. The billion-dollar question: how quickly should a new CEO adapt changing circumstances, and when not to adapt, already been discussed by Professor Gio Rahman. I would like to thank again Professor Gio Rahman for conducting these sessions. We are very happy those who are following with us. Our leadership speaker series actually we like to disseminate the knowledge, share our knowledge and expertise to all of you, so that this the exchange, uh, the knowledge exchange begins. It is not us, it is actually everyone participation through which we can change the society. So we'd like to encourage you to participate, and if you have any questions or any queries, you can contact us um, through our social media platform, or you can email us at info@prerona.tv or contact at gahlc.ca. Thank you very much. Those who are following with us, so we'd like to invite you for our next session next week. As you know, that we are running from Canada on our Mountain Standard Time. It is 9 p.m. on Wednesday night and 11 p.m. At Eastern Standard Time. And in Bangladesh time is actually 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. And in India, it is 9:30 on Thursday morning. Thank you very much. Now I would like to briefly share with you the Bengali part of it. Those who are actually following with us in Bengali. As you know, Prerona Television Canada is a multilingual channel. We'd like to share our presentations for Bengali community. Thank you very much. Take care. প্রেরণা টেলিভিশন এর পক্ষ থেকে এবং গ্লোবাল একাডেমি অফ হলিস্টিক লিডারশিপ অ্যান্ড কোচিং এর পক্ষ থেকে আপনাদেরকে স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি। আজকে আমাদের লিডারশিপ স্পিকারশিপের ধারাবাহিকতায় আজকে আমাদের 37তম পর্ব, এবং আমরা খুবই আনন্দিত আপনারা আমাদের সাথে আছেন। আজকে আমাদের যে টপিক রয়েছে সেটা হচ্ছে লিডারশিপ বা নেতৃত্ব এবং কালচার। এটা আমরা আগেও আলোচনা করেছি, কিন্তু আজকে আমরা যেটা আলোচনা করব একটু ইনডেপথ, লিডারশিপ এবং কালচার রিভিজিটেড। আমরা এর আগেও এই বিষয়ে আলোচনা করে যেটা বলেছি। আমাদের সাথে আজকে ছিলেন আমাদের রেগুলার, আমাদের যে নিয়মিত যে বক্তা এবং আমাদের যে ট্রেনার প্রশিক্ষক অ্যাডভোকেট জিয়াউর রহমান। উনি আইআইটি নামে যে প্রতিষ্ঠান রয়েছে সেই প্রতিষ্ঠানের প্রধান নির্বাহী, এবং এছাড়া উনি আইইউবি নামক যে ইউনিভার্সিটি রয়েছে তারই একজন অ্যাডজাঙ্ক্ট ফ্যাকাল্টি বা প্রফেসর। আমরা ওনার সাথে আমরা গত 37টা পর্ব আমরা করেছি। আমরা আজ খুবই আনন্দিত আজকে উনি আমাদের খুব সুন্দরভাবে লিডারশিপ এবং কালচার বিষয়টা আলোচনা করেছেন। আমরা আজকে সাধারণত শুরু করি আমাদের একটা কোটেশন দিয়ে। তো সেটা আমাদের একটা যে রাল্ফ ওয়াল্ডো এমারসন নামে যে দার্শনিক বা ভদ্রলোক, উনি বলেছেন যে কালচার ওপেন্স দ্য সেন্স অফ আ বিউটি। সো কালচার আমাদের কি, আমাদের সে সৌন্দর্যটার যে যে অনুভূতিটাকে যে সৃষ্টি করে বা খুলে দেয়। তারপরে সাইমন সিনেক নামে যে ভদ্রলোক রয়েছেন, তিনি এখানে বলেছেন যে কর্পোরেট কালচার ম্যাটার্স। কালচার মানে একটা গুরুত্ব বহন করে, এবং হাউ ম্যানেজমেন্ট চুজ টু ট্রিট ইটস পিপল ইম্প্যাক্ট এভরিথিং ফর বেটার অর ফর ওয়ার্স। তার মানে কিভাবে ম্যানেজমেন্ট তাদের ব্যক্তিদেরকে আহ তাদের ব্যক্তিদেরকে কিভাবে, বা তাদের যে কর্ম বা তাদের যে কর্মচারী রয়েছে বা তাদের যে জনবল রয়েছে, জনবলকে কিভাবে তারা ট্রিট করবে, এবং আহ, এটা এটা কিন্তু অনেক গুরুত্ব বহন করে, এবং এটা এটা অথবা ভালোর দিকেও যেতে পারে অথবা খারাপের দিকেও যেতে পারে। তো আমাদের এখানে আরেকটা কোটেশন দেওয়া আছে ব্রায়ান ক্রিস্টোফেক নামে এক ভদ্রলোক, উনি প্রেসিডেন্ট এন্ড সিইও অফ আপশট। এখানে উনি যেটা বলেছেন যে বিইং আ বিইং আ গ্রেট প্লেস টু ওয়ার্ক ইজ দ্য ডিফারেন্স বিটুইন বিইং আ গুড কোম্পানি এন্ড গ্রেট কোম্পানি। তো এখানে এক জিনিসটা হচ্ছে যে আমরা একটা ভালো জায়গায় যখন আমরা কাজ করি, তখন এটার মধ্যে একটা বড় একটা পার্থক্য দেখা যায় যে আসলে এটা ভালো কোম্পানি বা আর উৎকৃষ্ট বা সবচেয়ে সেরা কোম্পানি। তো এখানে আমাদের কালচারের বিষয়টা বলা আছে যে কালচার এখানে অনেকখানি সম্পর্কিত। যদি আমরা একটা উৎকৃষ্ট বা যেটা ভালো, একদম বেটার বেস্ট কোম্পানি যদি আমরা বলি, তাহলে আরেকটা এখানে বলা আছে কালচার ইজ দ্য শ্যাডো অফ দ্য লিডার। সো এই বিষয়ে যে কালচার আমাদের যে নেতারই একটা ছায়া বা প্রতিকৃতি বলা যায় বাংলায়, প্রতিকৃতি আমাদের এটা বহন করে। তো লিডারশিপের এখানে সংজ্ঞা ইজ অ্যাবাউট আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং ইন্টারনাল এন্ড এক্সটার্নাল কালচার within the industry and designing successful navigational নেভিগেশন স্ট্র্যাটেজি। তার মানে আমাদের এখানে বুঝতে হবে আমাদের যে যে ভিতরের বা ইন্টারনাল এবং এক্সটার্নাল কালচার ইন্ডাস্ট্রির, এবং আমাদের আমরা আমরা কি করছি এখানে, যে আমরা ইন্টারনাল এবং এক্সটার্নাল জানার পরে আমরা একটা সাকসেসফুল নেভিগেশন স্ট্র্যাটেজি আমরা ডিজাইন করছি। এর মাধ্যমে কিন্তু একজন নেতৃত্ব আহ, মানে সামনের দিকে এগিয়ে যেতে পারে। তো আমাদের ইম্প্যাক্ট অফ কালচার, কালচারের অনেক পজিটিভ দিক রয়েছে, অনেক নেগেটিভ দিক রয়েছে। কনফিউশন বা অ্যাম্বিভ্যালেন্ট আমরা আলোচনা করেছি। আমরা ব্লেন্ডিং অফ কালচার ইন লিডারশিপ কয়েকটা বিষয়, আমরা কিভাবে কালচার লিডারশিপের সাথে সম্পর্কিত বা একসাথে যাওয়া যায়, যেমন কালচারাল নর্মস, ভ্যালুস বিল্ড লিডারশিপ, এটা, এবং বিল্ডিং ব্লকস ফর ট্রান্সফরমেশন। আমরা আমরা যদি ট্রান্সফরমেশন করতে যাই বা পরিবর্তন করতে চাই, অনেক ধরনের বাধা বিপত্তি থাকে। কালচার ওরিয়েন্টেশনস অ্যান্ড অ্যাডাপশন, কারণ কালচারটা যদি আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশনে আমরা নিতে যাই, তাহলে আমাদের এটার ওরিয়েন্টেশন বা এটা আমাদের পরিচিতি প্রয়োজন রয়েছে, এবং কিভাবে আমরা অ্যাডাপ্ট করি সেটা আমাদের জানা দরকার রয়েছে। এবং কালচারাল পজিশনিং ইন লিডারশিপ, কিভাবে আমরা কালচারকে আমাদের লিডারশিপে আমরা অন্তর্ভুক্ত করতে পারি, পজিশনিং করতে পারি। তো সেটা কিন্তু একটা গুরুত্বপূর্ণ বিষয়। কালচার, কগনিশন, লিডার্স ট্রাইবস এর মধ্যে যেটা রয়েছে, যেখানে আমরা খুব সংক্ষেপে যেটা বলছি যে কালচার, আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং এন্ড কগনিশন ফর ইফেক্টিভ লিডারশিপ। তো এখানে আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং এন্ড কগনিশন অফ ইফেক্টিভ লিডারশিপ, ইফেক্টিভ লিডারশিপের জন্য আমাদের এটা আমাদের একটা কালচার এটা বুঝতে হবে, এবং ট্রেনিং আওয়ার মাইন্ডস টু লিড, তার মানে আমাদের মনকে বা আহ, আমাদের চিন্তাধারাকে কিন্তু আমাদের ট্রেনিং বা প্রশিক্ষণ দিতে হবে, যাতে আমরা লিড করতে পারি, আমরা যাতে নেতৃত্ব দিতে পারি। ফিলিং গ্যাপস ইন কগনিশন টু লিডস, যেখানে আমাদেরকে বা প্রয়োজন রয়েছে এটা, বা যেখানে আমাদের গ্যাপ রয়েছে, গ্যাপটাকে আমরা ফিল করে আমরা নেতৃত্ব দিতে পারি। বিল্ডিং আ পারপাস এন্ড নলেজ এনভায়রনমেন্ট টু লিড। সো আমরা এখানে আমরা একটা পারপাস বা একটা লক্ষ্য আমরা নির্ধারণ করতে পারি, এবং নলেজ এনভায়রনমেন্ট, আমাদের যে পরিবেশ রয়েছে সেটা সম্পর্কে আমাদের জানতে হবে, বা আমরা যদি জানি তাহলে আমাদের লিড বা নেতৃত্ব দিতে আমাদের সুবিধা হয়। আর একটা বিষয় রয়েছে কমিউনিকেট নর্মস প্র্যাকটিস এন্ড শেয়ার ভিশন টু লিড। আমাদের আমাদের যে আমরা এটা কমিউনিকেট বা আমাদের সঠিকভাবে আমাদের যোগাযোগের প্রয়োজন রয়েছে, নর্মস এবং প্র্যাকটিসেস যেটা আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশনের মধ্যে রয়েছে, এবং যে শেয়ার্ড ভিশনটা আমরা যদি নির্ধারণ করতে পারি, তাহলে আমাদের টিম মেম্বারের সাথে শেয়ার করে আমরা এটা লিড বা নেতৃত্ব দিতে পারি। সেলিব্রেট হ্যাপি মোমেন্টস, অ্যানালাইজ ডিফিকাল্টিজ টু লিড। অনেক সময় আমরা ছোট ছোট অনেক মুহূর্ত, আনন্দঘন মুহূর্ত আমরা সেলিব্রেট করি এবং অ্যানালাইজ ডিফিকাল্টিস, অনেক সময় অ্যানালাইজ করি যে অনেক সময় অনেক বিপত্তি। আমরা জানি অর্গানাইজেশনে আমরা অনেক সময় অনেক আম, অনেক কিছু সেলিব্রেট করি। কেন? কারণ এই হ্যাপি মোমেন্টটা আমাদেরকে উপলব্ধি করার প্রয়োজন আছে। টিমে থাকতে গেলে আমাদের সেই বিষয়ে আমাদের জানা দরকার। এটা একটা কালচার তৈরি করে। আমরা পিকনিকে, অর্গানাইজেশন থেকে পিকনিক অর্গানাইজ করি, বার্থডে সেলিব্রেশন করি, আমরা গেমস অর্গানাইজ করি। এগুলো কি সেলিব্রেট হ্যাপি মোমেন্টস। অর্গানাইজেশনের অ্যানিভার্সারি, কোনো বিষয়ে আমরা, কোনো আমাদের প্রজেক্টে আমরা উইন করেছি বা আমরা করেছি, বিভিন্ন বিষয় আমরা সেলিব্রেট করি। এর ফলে কি হয়? আমরা রেকগনাইজ করি, আমরা আমরা একজনকে বা মূল্যায়ন করি এবং তার ফলে আমাদেরকে, আমরা কিন্তু লিড বা নেতৃত্ব দিতে আমাদের সুবিধা হয়। তারপর এনেবল অ্যাডাপটিভ ক্রস কালচারাল টিম অ্যান্ড ডায়ালগস। তো আমাদের ক্রস কালচারাল যে টিম এবং ডায়ালগস, বা যেটা আমরা অনেক সময় দেখি আমরা মাল্টিকালচারাল টিমে কাজ করি, তখন সেক্ষেত্রে আমাদের এখানে ক্রস কালচারাল যে বা টিম ডায়ালগ, সেটা করতে আমাদের অ্যাডাপটিভ বা আমরা সেভাবে প্রস্তুত থাকি, মানসিকভাবে প্রস্তুত থাকি এবং এটা আমাদেরকে সাহায্য করে। তারপরে ড্রাইভিং সোশ্যাল সাকসেসেস, আমাদের সামনে এগিয়ে যেতে ব্রেক ডাউন কমিউনিকেশন অ্যান্ড বাউন্ডারিজ, মানে আমাদের কমিউনিকেশনটা আগে আলোচনা করেছি, কমিউনিকেশনের যে বাউন্ডারি আছে সেই বাউন্ডারি ব্রেক করে আমরা যাতে ইফেক্টিভ কমিউনিকেশন করতে পারি আমাদের টিমের মাধ্যমে। ওয়ার্ক আউটসাইড পার্সোনাল সাইলোস, তার মানে আমাদের যে নিজের গণ্ডি থেকে বেড়ে, ব্যক্তিগণ্ডি থেকে বেড়ে আমরা এর মধ্যে কাজ করা। প্রমোট আদার্স, অন্যদেরকে অনুপ্রাণিত করা, উৎসাহিত করা। ওয়ার্ক অন উইনিং ট্রাস্ট, আমাদেরকে আস্থা অর্জন করা। কন্টিনিউয়াস কমিউনিকেশন, মানে নিরন্তর আমাদের যোগাযোগ সৃষ্টি করা। এবং বি ইনোভেটিভ অ্যান্ড ক্রিয়েটিং কোলাবোরেশন, তার মানে নতুনত্ব সৃষ্টি করা, ক্রিয়েটিং কোলাবোরেশন, একসাথে কাজ করা, কোলাবোরেশন করা। তো এই বিষয়গুলোর মাধ্যমে কিন্তু আমরা একটা কালচার সৃষ্টি করতে পারি। তো $1 million যে কোয়েশ্চেনটা রয়েছে, সেখানে বলা আছে যে হাউ কুইকলি শুড আ নিউ সিইও অ্যাডাপ্ট অ্যান্ড চেঞ্জিং সার্কামস্টান্সেস এন্ড ওয়েন নট টু অ্যাডাপ্ট। তো মানে কত তাড়াতাড়ি একজন সিইও, নিউ সিইও, নতুন একজন যদি নির্বাহী যদি একটা অর্গানাইজেশনে জয়েন করে, এই চেঞ্জিং যে সার্কামস্টান্স, মানে পরিবর্তনশীল যে আহ, যে বিষয়গুলো রয়েছে, তারা কিভাবে সেটাকে সে গ্রহণ করে এবং কত তাড়াতাড়ি সে গ্রহণ করতে পারে এবং কখন সেটা গ্রহণ করবে না। এটা একটা, এটা একটা চ্যালেঞ্জ। নতুন সিইও যদি থাকে, তখন একটা অর্গানাইজেশন কালচারটা বুঝতে তার একটু সময় সাপেক্ষ বা সময়ের ব্যাপার রয়েছে। কিন্তু অর্গানাইজেশন কালচার শুধু নতুন একজন সিইও এসে সে তো পরিবর্তন। অর্গানাইজেশন কালচার ইজ জাস্ট আ হোল টিম, যেটা অলরেডি তাদের কালচার তারা অলরেডি ডেভেলপ করছে ওভার এ পিরিয়ড অফ টাইম। সেই পিরিয়ড অফ টাইমটা তারা কিন্তু এই জিনিসটা করছে। সুতরাং এখানে জিনিসটা হচ্ছে যে কালচারটাকে, উই হ্যাভ টু ভ্যালু আওয়ার কালচার, আমাদের কালচারকে মূল্যায়ন করতে হবে। এবং আমরা যে, আমরা যদি ইফ ইউ ওয়ান্ট টু উইন, then we have to value and we have to recognize, we have to respect, and then we can develop and we can co-create the culture, and which is very important because that's why. And if leader is passionate, new CEO or whoever it is, if they are passionate and if they listen and if they are flexible, and then if they work with the team, definitely that will not be the questions when to adapt or how to adapt. The question is how you integrate all those and bring this new culture, or uphold the culture which is actually organization culture already recognized and accepted by everyone. তো এইটা আমাদেরকে জানতে হবে এবং সেভাবে আমরা করতে পারি। আমরা আনন্দিত এবং ধন্যবাদ জানাতে চাই অ্যাডভোকেট জিয়াউর রহমানকে ওনার আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য। আমাদের প্রেরণা টিভি এবং গ্লোবাল একাডেমি অফ হোলিস্টিক লিডারশিপে আমাদের সেশন আমরা প্রত্যেক বুধবারে করি, এবং বুধবার আমাদের মাউন্টেন স্ট্যান্ডার্ড টাইম, এডমন্টন ক্যালগারি রাত 9টার সময়, টরন্টো রাত 11টা, টরন্টো অটোয়ার রাত 11টার সময়, এবং বাংলাদেশ টাইম বৃহস্পতিবার সকাল 10টা, এবং ইন্ডিয়ান টাইম সকাল 9:30 বৃহস্পতিবার। আপনারা আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য ধন্যবাদ। আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে আমাদের চ্যাট বক্সে এবং আমাদের সাথে ইমেলে আমরা যোগাযোগ করতে পারেন। আমরা চাই যে আমাদের সম্মিলিত প্রচেষ্টায় আমরা আমাদের একজন আমাদের যে নতুন প্রজন্মকে সঠিক দিক নির্দেশনা দিতে পারি। সকলকে ধন্যবাদ। সকল সুস্থ থাকুন, ভালো থাকুন। আমি আবারও ধন্যবাদ জানাতে চাই অ্যাডভোকেট জিয়াউর রহমান ওনার সময় দেওয়ার জন্য। আপনারা সুস্থ থাকুন, ভালো থাকুন।
আপনাদের সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ। আসসালামু আলাইকুম ঢাকা থেকে।